Okay, so welcome to the talk about openDesk, the open source collaborative suite presented by Clément Aubin from XWiki and Wieland Lindenthal from OpenProject. Enjoy.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. The funny thing is we are not openDesk. We're just vendors. We're just contributing to openDesk, but we come to this later. Yeah, openDesk, what is that? That is an idea of building an alternative to Microsoft Office 365 or to Google Apps that come to the public sectors. They are used everywhere, and public sector wants to have an alternative to that. So if you really want to go after the big elephant that is not in the room, we're trying to create an alternative to that. So probably it's the biggest opportunity for open source software right now. Let's say at least in the realm of collaboration and working together. So openDesk is a powerful initiative of the German government with a goal to provide a serious alternative to the proprietary big tech establishment. It unites independent open source software vendors to create a sovereign workplace tailored for the public sector. We two here, we are just nerds. We're just software developers. I'm from my side. I work for and co-founded OpenProject. So that is one of the software, so one of the parts of the solutions here that we will talking about. So, but I'm a software engineer. I'm not openDesk, okay? And this is Clément.
Yeah. Hello. Well, you maybe have seen me during the Devroom this morning. So my name is Clément Aubin. I'm an XWiki committer, and I also work at XWiki SaaS to do sales, mainly. Okay. So, well, let's start by discussing a little bit about the history of openDesk and how we got there, essentially. So, it goes. The issue with essentially collaborative suites goes a long way, right? Since 2015, especially in Western EU, so when I'm talking about Western EU, it's mainly French and German governments, because from our point of view, that's where we have the most information, let's say. Since 2015, what we see is that there are growing concerns when it comes to the US-based cloud offering that exists in order to create collaborative suites. And these concerns are mainly regarding the fact that you don't necessarily have control on your data. You don't know exactly where it is being stored, how it is being processed. There are especially privacy risks. If you are putting sensitive data, maybe they could be accessed in different ways. In particular, since 2018, there is an extraterritorial law that exists in the US that allows the government to ask a company to access customer data, even though the data of the customer may not be from a US citizen, just for, let's say, for usually to get more information about that customer. And then there is the big question of lock-in. Essentially, when you migrate your data, how easy it is to migrate it back? Are there any open standards that exist in order to do it the other way around? So these concerns exist, and so actually since the end of 2010 and beginning of 2020. So France and Germany have started to create some rules when it comes to the handling of critical data in their government. So in France in particular, there is an initiative which is called Cloud Nubo and Cloud Pi, which is essentially two cloud specifications that are used for public administrations. One is for, let's say, conventional data, and another one is for more sensitive data. And Germany also started another initiative, which is the Deutsche Verwaltungscloud-Strategie, which is, let's say, kind of the same. It creates kind of a standard in order to protect the data that is used by public administration from the external actors. So this is essentially, to be clear, this is essentially infrastructures or definition of infrastructure that should be implemented by the state, so that on the long run, states have the capability to host some data securely for them. In the meantime, there is the question of having security certifications, basically making sure that the different vendors that will provide a specific service for you. They have the necessary amount of security to provide that service. And so, in the same idea, there are two standards that were created over the past years. In France, we have Secnum Cloud. Secnum Cloud has been created by the ANSI. It's basically derived from another security standard, which is called ISO 27001. If you are doing security, you may know about it, because it's well known. And what Secnum Cloud does is that basically it takes most of the rules from ISO 27001, but it adds also controls when it comes to the nationality of the people and the location of the people that are allowed to process the data. So the whole goal of Secnum Cloud is to protect from extraterritorialities, in particular the US Cloud Act that I mentioned. In Germany, there is also another certification which is called BSI C5, and we will talk about it afterwards because it's quite important. The goal is to basically be able to qualify a specific application that you want to deploy on a cloud offering that you want to deploy to be used by public institutions. So C5 certification is a little bit different in the sense that it's not about extraterritoriality at this point. It is more about it's more about basically making sure that the application is correctly developed. There is good standards of quality when it comes to the change that you are applying to your application. You validate its compliance, etc., etc. On the long term, so if you are residing in Europe, in the EU, there is a vision to create one unified standard, which is mainly based out of Secnum Cloud and C5, which would be called the ES Cloud, that would encapsulate and be able, basically allow any vendor to qualify to this standard in order to be deployed in the different governmental public administrations in the EU. So that's very nice, but. So we are actually introducing new laws that allow us to control what can be put and what can be used by public administration. But in the meantime, we may not be creating solutions here, and so that's another issue that has been tackled by France and Germany over the past few years. In France, over the past, in 2021 to 2022. There is a project that was started that was pushed by the DGE, which is the Direction Générale des Entreprises. It's a branch of the finance ministry, and the goal was to create different consortium that would lead the creation of an alternative suites to things such as Office 365 or Google Workplace, the ones that Wieland talked about. So it's a project that has been started in 2023. The total of the project is around 23 million that have been invested by the state for the three consortiums, and the idea is to have results by 2026. Now we will not talk about them that much because it's actually not based on fully open source software, so it's not really the scope of this talk. The one we are interested here is the project from Germany, which is openDesk. And the idea of openDesk is essentially, it's really a different approach. In Germany, there is the Ministry of Interior. I will not say the name in German because it's going to be a nightmare. The Ministry of Interior decided in 2022 to create a consortium made of different actors, so we'll see them afterwards, but essentially Dataport, which is a big service provider for public administration in Germany, as well as a couple of vendors, software vendors, all providing open source software, and the ministry decided to group them together in order to create a platform which is coherent, fully open source, and can basically last longer and be maintained over time. So to give you an idea, in France, the financing for the three consortium I mentioned is around 23 million, knowing that there is a little bit of a loan there, so you have to reimburse it. And then in Germany, it's basically orders, so it's not a loan, and the budget into 23 was 23 million, so a little bit more budget. So if we go into the details of openDesk, so the project was initially started by the German Ministry of Interior. Today it's been handed over to Zendis, which is also a public organization that has been created in order to handle, let's say, open source projects that have been created by the state, by the federal state. And so, yeah, as I mentioned, the project is currently co-managed with multiple actors. So there is the Bundesministerium des Interior, the Ministry of the Interior, right? The BMI, PwC, which is helping on trying to find use cases, basically find the correct user stories, what the issues that we are trying to solve with our collaborative workplace. Dataport, which I mentioned, which is providing basically hosting for the project and is also doing a lot of work in order to organize the different vendors all working together to create a unified workplace and create a product that works. And then we also have Bechtle, which is present for helping on the financing of the project. So we talked about the vendors today in this project, in the openDesk project. We have around a little bit more than 500 people that are working from both the different vendors, PwC, BMI, and Dataport and Bechtle. So that's quite a large project in the end. I will get to the name of the vendors afterwards, but this is just kind of a quick view of what we're trying to achieve, right? Basically, we're trying to achieve one solution, one workplace that fills in different needs. We want to have email management, of course. You need to have emails. You also want to create events, so you will have calendar modules, contacts, task management. We want to also have the file management part, where we can create new files, collaborate on them. And then you also may want to continue working on your projects, so develop projects within your organization. For that, we have a project management tool, a knowledge base tool, and you also want to communicate with your coworkers. So there is modules about chats and video conferencing. So all these projects, the idea of openDesk is essentially that these modules should be made of solutions that can be switched easily. The ideal vision of openDesk would be that basically you have a software which is providing the email functionality, but let's say that tomorrow you want to switch it. You don't want to use the default version, the default software that is provided. Then you should be able to do the switch fairly easily. But in practice today we are providing some sort of a default implementation, meaning that we have a couple of software that correspond to each of these features, and we don't really have like two options for file management.
Yeah, that's a very important part because the German state don't want to get back into the vendor lock, right? So that's the reason why it's talking about mail and not about a certain vendor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So if we look a little bit more in the details, so when it comes to everything which is related to email, agenda, contact management, calendar, and task, Open Exchange is handling today that big part of the project. When it comes to file management, it's mainly Nextcloud. Yes, sorry. Mainly Nextcloud. And in Nextcloud, when you want to collaborate on different files, we have two external tools that have been integrated. So Collabora, for which we had a talk a couple of minutes ago, and also CryptPad, which we had a talk this morning. So they are used in order to edit basically Office files, and for CryptPad, it's for editing diagrams today. When it comes to the communication, so we have Element, which is handling, so Element based on Matrix, which is handling everything which is related to chats between teams. And there is a clever integration between Element and Jitsi. The integration is provided by Nordec to basically allow to have video conferencing and basically rooms within Element where you can start calls and make calls and chat on a specific subject. Then on the project management capabilities, there are us, right? So OpenProject as part of the project management tool, and XWiki for knowledge management. I would say that we are rather the OpenProject and XWiki are kind of the latest projects in the project, right? We arrived, at least in XWiki, we arrived end of 2022, so not that far away, and not that long ago. And finally, so this whole portal that you see here, it's managed by Univention, which is another solution that allows to create user portals, and it's also handling access management, authentication, user list, etc., etc.
Single sign-on.
Yeah, single sign-on also. So, and so today the development of the project is managed by the hosting of everything which is related to the development of the project is managed by Dataport. So thanks to them. So we'll get to, at some point, we'll try to do a demo if we have internet. But let's go a little bit more in the technical details. So today, the architecture of openDesk is mainly based on Kubernetes, mainly because we are integrating a lot of different components, and at some point it was decided to use Kubernetes because it was the easiest, basically, to integrate all this complexity into one big package. So we are using Helm charts and GitLab CIs to deploy a Kubernetes cluster. And then basically each component of this cluster is one application managed by one vendor. Each vendor can provide either a generic Docker image that needs a little bit of configuration in order to work within the context of openDesk, or sometimes some vendors will provide really a tailored application with a tailored custom Docker image that meets some specific requirements. So sometimes there are also other ways to deliver basically the applications. A quick look at the features I may not have completely talked about. So, of course, it comes with a user directory managed by Invention. All the applications are connected between each other through OpenID Connect, so that's very easy in some way and very standard. And we also have unified navigation across the different applications. So that's something I want to show you in the demo. And finally, the goal of the project is really to make sure that all these components that we are integrating, they are connected together fully. And so that's going to be very important. I would say it's a work in progress, but we'll see in the later part of the talk that we have, for example, examples of integrations between OpenProject and Nextcloud, which are very exciting to see. A little bit of a note. Also, so when it comes to the distribution of OpenDesk, of course, so it's made of open source software, but the whole build itself is the whole project itself is open source. And actually, you can access it on OpenCode, which is a GitLab instance that is used by the German state to publish its open source projects. So there you should find basically a mirror of all the source code used by all the components of OpenDesk. But you will also find dedicated repositories with all the Helm charts that are needed in order to deploy the platform. Another thing, in order to be secure, or to provide some security and compliance, so every release is signed. We create software bills of materials. We audit also the licenses of the different components that are being integrated within the workplace in order to make sure that we are really completely fully open source. The idea is essentially to have something that will work for the German administration, and working for the German administration means being BSIC 5 compliant. So as part of the project, we also have a little bit of work in order to help each component be match the certification in terms of quality of development, for example. Finally, maybe we'll talk a little bit about it later on. There is a big concern on accessibility. It's one of the things that we see that the most talked about open source software. It's nice. It has a lot of features, but maybe sometimes it's not fully accessible. Well, as part of this project, we have to match also some accessibility guidelines in order to be used for the public sector. So this is also part of the financing that we get from the project, along with security. On the offering side, so the long-term goal for the project is essentially to have today there are plans to create offers for the public administration in Germany, mainly through two entities. So one is Zendis that we talked about, which is currently, let's say, coordinating the project at a very high level from the federal government perspective. And also Dataport, which is participating to the project as part of the project management. But Dataport has its own also suite, which is basically a fork of OpenDesk with some extra components that are not necessarily open source, that have been added or modified in order to answer some specific needs. So yeah, today mainly offering for the German market, but not really for the rest of Europe. So that's going to be a challenge for later.
But there's interest from all over Europe in the product.
Yeah.
So the French government also is interested.
Yeah, Austria, I think. Also.
Austria, yeah, Sweden. So it's a big thing in Europe, and people are looking from all sides on that project.
Okay, so let's try to do a quick demo. Let me see. Okay, yeah. So let's do it very quickly. Whoops. So this is an openDesk instance that we are using for review. So I just want to show you very quickly the different applications that are available. So let's say that I want to go to my emails. We are fully dependent on FOSDEM network, so I hope it's going to load. Huh? Okay, great. So email, we are running on OpenExchange. So if you know OpenExchange, you probably already recognize this interface. What you see is that so all the applications have been customized so that they have a color theme that matches, that is unified in order to have like a nice user experience. I can so I can use a user directory which is based on the users that are registered in my openDesk instance. I can potentially add in my email. I can add files, and when I'm selecting files, I have the choice of uploading a file from my computer. But I can also link a file from my Nextcloud account. And so if I do that, it will create a share automatically and make sure that whoever is receiving the email has the necessary access to see the file. This one, no. Okay, this one. Thank you. Okay, so apart from that, in the email application, you will see that we have this little button here, and that's the transversal menu. It allows us to switch from one application to another, and it will change depending on your access rights. So we can look at, for example, Nextcloud, so integrated for the file management. Here I can create my file, I can create spreadsheets, and in that case it will create a document that will be open within Collabora. So I can edit it. We also have files that can be diagrams that we can edit directly with CryptPad. So for that we integrated CryptPad within openDesk for one specific functionality. And here we are using Draw.io actually within CryptPad. We can also look at maybe chats, in which case it's going to be a managed instance of Matrix and Element as a front end, where I can have discussions with the other member of my openDesk instance or potentially other member of the Matrix Federation. And here what you see is that I'm actually part of a room which is used for a specific meeting within Matrix. And so these rooms, they can be created automatically when I'm in the agenda of OpenExchange. I create a new event and I say that I want to have a conference in Matrix, and it will create me a link that will head me to this room, the same format, where I have video conferencing here. I know that was a bad idea. Let's leave. And I have a whiteboard, and I can also chat. Finally, we also have project management with OpenProject and knowledge management with XWiki. So here I can create my new projects, I can create my work packages, create some milestones, and link them together. I won't go too much into the details because I don't want to spoil you. And here we also have a customized XWiki instance. Today we are synchronizing users and rights. We don't have particular integrations with third parties, with the other applications. So yeah, so that's a very quick demo.
And by the way, that is released, okay? So you can download and try it and play around with that. So it's an open code.
It's open source. Enjoy. So about the roadmap of OpenDesk, essentially the goal is to have a stable version like this month. As you said, it's already released. The main issue I would say is when it comes to the deployment, if you want to try it out, is that today there is still a good part of the documentation which is only in German, and sometimes if you're not speaking German, it can be a little bit difficult. But yeah. On the longer run, in 2024,
we are trying very hard.
yeah.
Contributions for translations are welcome, I guess.
Exactly, you can do a pull request. And so the idea in 2024 is to have like more improvements in order to improve the BSIC 5 compliance. Remember, the goal is to deploy that within the German federal administration and also within some German lenders. Compliance to any standard that exists for the public sector is really important for the project. And it's good because it allows to also improve the open source projects that are behind, that are being bundled in the platform. Yeah. You want to
Yeah. So, I mean, we are software vendors like OpenProject or XWiki. For us, the perspective is a little bit different on that whole project of the whole openDesk, because we already have a product, we already have clients, we already have a roadmap, and then suddenly someone says, "Hey, we want to integrate you, but you should have the same look and feel. We want to have a single sign-on. We want you guys to finally come together and create deep integrations." So that is challenging for us because usually we tend to stay in our own soup because it's easier to build stuff in our own software. And integrations are complex. You need to organize. You need to find collaboration, like meetings with others, align roadmaps and importance, priorities. That's difficult. And now suddenly someone from the outside comes, like says, "No, we want you guys to work together,
and we will pay you actually."
Yes. So by integrating two multiple, very deeply specialized applications, by integrating them, we create a multiple value. We multiply the value instead of everyone brewing their own soup. So also for us, it's a huge chance because, like, if let's say XWiki is integrating with us, then maybe their clients, which are also likely to use OpenProject, would also book OpenProject, like the professional services. So for us, it's a huge opportunity. And with openDesk, it comes like, okay, the German government also wants that it's easy to procure, so that not every little city needs to go through a tender process. Yeah, tender processes. So will be much easier for a small city to book services from us, right? So and with that we can build better software and we can better integrate.
So maybe some challenges before we dive into more like how we create integrations, basically. So some challenges that we see today is integration between the UI and the UX, so the product, of course. It's difficult to, well, basically not all software are created equals when it comes to the capacity to customize them, because sometimes it has not been thought out from the beginning. Yeah.
Microphone.
Oh, sorry, my bad. So there is a big challenge on UI and UX. There is also a question of like overlapping features. Sometimes us as vendors, we create features like we create, I don't know, like a task management feature in XWiki which collides with OpenProject, or a wiki in OpenProject that collides with XWiki. Well, we have to find solutions for that, but usually we are like civilized, so it's okay. There is one issue is also like maintaining all these customizations that we are creating outside of the core of our products. So basically, we create an overlay that makes our application compatible with openDesk, but then like, how do we get the financing for that? Like, how do we maintain it? And if it's really difficult to maintain it across new versions, like how do we do? And so far, we need to find solutions on the long term for this.
But talking about integrations, like of course, these two systems, they don't exist only in openDesk. We exist outside openDesk as well. Yeah. And there the integration also makes sense. And those people might not have the whole openDesk infrastructure. So we always, when we build integrations, we want to build it in a way that is also suitable for other environments where the software could run separately.
Exactly. And so last thing is creation of offerings. We mentioned the fact that other EU countries are interested. Apart from Germany, so that's going to be a challenge on the long term to find ways to provide openDesk in the public sector, maybe for other actors or even for the private sector. Yep. So
yeah. To also go a little bit into an example I always like to talk about integrations because I think this is where the power lies in collaboration. I want to go into one example that I was working on with my team. That's the Nextcloud and OpenProject integration. Some stuff of this I already presented last year here, but I want to have a bit different point of view on that. So quickly, okay, so Nextcloud is mainly for us here today, it's a file storage platform, and OpenProject is something like, let's say, Jira or something like that. So you create and organize your work in work packages, issues, whatever you call them, and you can have them organized in Gantt charts or boards or whatever you need. So, okay, so we have a file management environment and we have a project management environment, and in the outside perspective, let's say the public sector, they have a different perspective on that. They are saying, like, where are the files for my task? Two things in one sentence, right? Does everyone in my team have access? Oh, so we're in a project management system. We're organizing our work. The files are in a different system. Access management, okay? The third problem is I want to do the same thing over and over again, like doing the same processes, having the same steps organized in projects, task by task by task by task. And also I want to have the same template files and the same folder structure, having this all again and again, and they both need to go together. So what they don't want is that we, as OpenProject, that we build our own file management system, because Nextcloud is pretty good at that. And it's also integrated in the desktop and so on. You know, like, people want to work on files like in the Nextcloud experience. But also, Nextcloud might not be the best choice for organizing complex projects. Okay, it has the deck, right? But if you really want to go a bit more professional, probably OpenProject is a good idea. So from the public sector, they don't want these tiny solutions. They want the integrated solution, right? And also, it's not only openDesk, like our other clients, like the City of Cologne or the University of Duisburg-Essen or the Deutsche Bahn. They want the integration. They don't want the separate solutions. For us, it's easier to focus. If we integrate, it's much easier to focus on project management, while, for example, Nextcloud could benefit to focus on file management and so on. So this integration creates a great value in the combination. And also it's interesting, like once I already mentioned, if we work together, and it's like Nextcloud is just an example, but if we all work together, then the sales also becomes easier, because we all have clients that the others don't have yet, right? So, and with that, joining forces in the integration of sales, we together then can capture a bigger market, get more money to build more open source software. Okay, little examples for how this looks like. So this is OpenProject. You have a work package, and on the right-hand side, you see files that are related to that task, which is baking pizza. I love baking pizza. And the interesting thing is you can see the files that are necessary for that for this baking of pizza on the right-hand side, but the files are not in OpenProject. They are Nextcloud. And in Nextcloud, when they change their name, this name will change here as well. If they change their location, these links will still work. Yeah? So this deeply integrated referential integrity, that is what you need in order to get away from chaos. This is what actually organizations want. They want to get rid of chaos. They want to have control over their stuff. Access control. So for projects in OpenProject, you can have something that's called a project folder. So OpenProject, we create folders in Nextcloud that are for which we manage the access. So members of a project, this is the scope of a team, right? They need to have the access to the stuff that they want to have access to. So we say, okay, here in Nextcloud, these and these people have access to it, fully automatically managed. That helps people to keep the data where it belongs to, the files where they belong to. So we are working on this project, here are the files, put them there, in that folder. Okay, don't put them anywhere else. And if you leave the company, they're still there, right? If you're the organization, they're still there. And then on the Nextcloud side, also deeply integrated, we can show you which task or work packages are actually relevant for that file, or where this file is used in. Let's say you have a template file for an employment contract, right? So where's this used, and in which contracts is that file used? So you can find them on the right-hand side, directly jump into the work package of OpenProject, and find the processes there. Yeah. So the bottom line is like, yeah, integrated, we are much, much stronger.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I think we have some time for questions. So.
Are we going to have to figure out a way to answer?
Yeah. Scream.
Okay.
Oh, you will.
Thanks for the talk. Are there any license requirements in order to integrate into the openDesk infrastructure? And second question is, which vendor, so to speak, is kind of the product owner of the dashboard and the top bar we saw, which all apps share?
Okay. So the first question. Okay. So for the first question on the license requirements, exactly. There are some requirements. So basically, anything that you have to commit on open code needs to match within a list of authorized license by the German administration, by the admins of open code, and the list is not fully compatible with the one that is provided by the open source initiative. So it's a little bit shorter. We basically found that the hard way, essentially, when, for example, if you have a software, you package it as a Docker image, and then, when you have to upload the Docker image on open code, you have to provide an SBOM for it with the license, and then you found out that in the base Docker image that you are depending, there is a Perl library with a weird license header, and so it creates an exception, and you have like 3 months of review to make sure that it's okay to have that in OpenDesk. So it's a little bit of a mess. There is a list available on open code for the license. When it comes to the product ownership, I'm not 100% sure. I believe that it's so the design of the navigation bar. It's managed by I think it's managed by either Zendesk, which is like handling the project at a high level, and Zendesk is being helped by consulting by PwC, which is doing consulting and usability tests on top of OpenDesk. And the same goes for the portal, I believe.
Thank you. Any other questions?
And technically, the widget board that you saw, that's at the entrance is Univention.
Yeah, thank you again for the talk. I have 2 questions. One is very specific. I'm from Northern Germany, and I've heard of Project Phoenix. You wrote Project or Project Phoenix. Is there some difference, or is it just that Project Phoenix? And the second question is
there's Dataport over there.
Okay, can I just phrase the second question? Second question is, if you're in the context of a company which does not have an own IT and stuff like that, but likes to keep to an open source software where you can switch vendors, are there vendors just providing this setup where you can get an account and use it for your company?
That's the idea of the job of Dataport, for being one of the potential hosters of that Phoenix suite. So then you could get that product from there just by renting it. Yeah.
But I think they just offer the services to public administration.
Eliab, please.
I try to answer it. I'm a part of the project Phoenix and also have a little insight of OpenDesk. The thing is, Phoenix is a branch of this OpenDesk. And what was your question exactly?
They just wrote Project
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same. There was some name changes on the way to the product. Yeah, D means data port. They dropped it, and now it's Phoenix. So it's basically the same product.
It's not like a second generation.
No. It's just renaming. You know. Yeah.
And is there a possibility just to rent this somewhere for small companies who don't run their own IT?
No, but
Not to my knowledge, but if there is high demand on that will be possible.
But
Yeah,
I
they
mean-
already do it for some customers, so maybe it's a question of strategy and how much this is asked. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, it's Helm charts, right? So the idea is that it's easy for any hoster to host it, right? And then just the protect. There's Marcus. Do you have more insights? Okay.
Okay, I'm
To
going
me-
to take the questions in relative order.
But the idea is that it's easy to host it, right? It shall be easy for any organization in the public sector to simply say, I have a data center, or I just rent it somewhere, and I just pull up the Helm charts, and off we go.
Okay, you mentioned that this German strategy was to put this 23 million in year 2023. So my question is, how does it go forwards with on the funding side?
It depends on the German farmers.
Maintenance and all that. Is there kind of a guaranteed maintenance for this code, or like who is taking care of the boarding stuff, the security patches and all?
You want to answer that? So the budget allocated to the project depends on what's being voted in the parliament. There are budget cuts nowadays. I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but globally there is still budget on the project. It's about half of what we had last year. The budget repartition is another issue, right? It's basically like around 30 million dedicated to OpenProject into 24 to be validated. OpenDesk, sorry. And sorry, what was the second question again?
Who's handling the long-term maintenance
Okay,
of the security patches?
So the goal on the long term is essentially to find a business model so that whenever you are deploying OpenDesk, there is a team that is managing basically the packaging of OpenDesk, making sure that the Helm charts are up to date, etc. So this team needs to find some funding, and the idea would be to have, like, if you are taking professional support, basically the team would get a part of the funding, and then the idea is also to redistribute this funding to the vendors themselves in some way. The specifics of this repartition here, they are not fully defined, basically, because we are really right at the point where we have this default implementation of OpenDesk that is just going out, and now there is a second step of like finding the first clients and making sure that it deploys properly, basically.
Okay, any other questions? I'm going to take some people that haven't spoken just for like distribution.
Thank you. First of all, thanks for the talk. That's a really interesting project, and I just wanted to ask if there is an interest of at some point adding any repository or repository tools, or for instance, I don't know, pipelining CI/CD tools to the platform.
I will repeat the question so that it's I'm so sorry. So that it's registered. Whether there's any integration of repository or pipelining.
Right now not. I personally think it makes perfect sense. I would very much welcome that. And I guess it's just like knocking at the door at Sendis and saying, hey, we want to have this. Hello. Hello.
Okay. Yeah.
So you said there is unified procurement, so you can buy a license for all the different softwares if you want, like professional support and stuff. Is there also like a single point of contact for support if I want to self-host this and have some issues with any of the softwares in the suite? Who do I ask if I have problems? And is there someone who can help me? And do I have to know which software has the problem? And also, second question, what's your favorite pizza? Thank you.
Okay. Good question. So the question is like, is there central support for the whole product? And Actually, I don't know that much.
I think it's not defined yet.
Yeah, something that needs to be developed.
It's part of what you said about the whole package of
business model. It's part of the discussion on the business model, basically.
But I think it's more important that we first build the software now, integrate it and make it open source and available for everyone for free.
And second question? The favorite pizza?
Yeah, there are many.
Okay.
Hawaii. No Hawaii.
Okay, maybe one last question because it's about 40 seconds left until we need to switch speakers. Let me go back there.
Not a question, but a remark. Hi, I'm Rene. I'm with Zendesk for 2 days now, and I'll be happy to take any questions or feedback on openDesk with me. I'll be out for the talk. Thank you.
Okay, really cool. Sure.
So my question is, there are huge parts of the software stack that are still, I think, vendor tied, outside of, for example, just Office software, I guess. So is there, similar projects or opportunities to free those? Do you know of any? So, for example, like GitHub is one of the biggest ones. There is an alternative in GitLab, but and operating systems, BIOSes, hardware.
You mean if I acoustically have problems to understand the question. So, was the question like if there are other software going to be integrated, or?
There is a huge part of the computer science ecosystem, such as going down from hardware all the way up to operating systems and.
Okay, the different layers.
Different layers. Is there, movements to free those?
Yeah. So openDesk focuses on the desk, the working desk. So the tools that you need on your machine in order to work together. So that's the current scope. There's not the scope of controlling the hardware or the operating system. That's a different story.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.